Hello, welcome back. Another grooming session. Must be another Saturday morning, except today is actually Sunday for me. It's Saturday morning for you, and I hope you're enjoying it. This is my third goat to wash today. So if you've noticed that I'm already sopping wet and dirty, that is why. We are in full-on show prep mode. So I'm bathing 3 goats today on a Sunday, and then on a Thursday, like 4 days from now, I'm going to bathe those same 3 goats. The good news is Wren should be fairly simplistic. Unlike my other 2, she has really virtually no undercoat whatsoever, which is really kind of the direction I'm taking my herd. Oh, I know your babies are yelling. And so with virtually no undercoat, the brush out that I did last week, and then the quick brush that you just saw me put on her this time, really has taken care of any tangles, any knots. And so this should be, I say this, I'm probably cursing myself, but this should be pretty much just shampoo, condition, repeat on the other side, rinse, and get her on her merry way. And her babies are not happy that she is not there. It's so funny. Last year was her first time having babies, and she had a single little baby boy who was gorgeous. But when she had that baby, she dropped him and ran into the pasture and left him behind. Now, thankfully, of course, we're right there to take care of it. So, that happens sometimes with first fresheners. That's what a first-time mom is called. They don't know what went on. They just went through a whole lot of pain. Yes, there is pain with childbirth. Go figure. Oh, thank you. You're going to poop everywhere? That's awesome. Thank you. Oh, that's quite the collection, too. So I'm going to have to sweep before we rinse you. Otherwise, I'll be standing in poop soup. At any rate, so she left that little boy all by itself, sopping wet, still sort of wrapped in its amniotic sac. Of course, our other goats also help out. Emma makes a wonderful midwife, and she will clean up any baby that she's allowed to. So that was happening. We went out in the pasture to grab Wren, wrangle her back in. We knew that was her only baby just based on, the fact that there was nothing left of her. She was definitely done. And we thought, oh no, here's where we're going to get stuck with a bottle baby. I need to rinse my hands so I don't deal with shampoo all over my broom. But before we can rinse her, I need to sweep up some poop because I really don't want poop soup everywhere. And goat pellets are nice and firm on a normal basis, but boy, you expose them to water and they soften up and become soup very easily. And I just don't want to be standing in that, grinding that into our cement. So we're just going to take care of that right now, including the one that stayed on the stand. Yes, I'm a typical person that rather than, picking it up off the stand and just putting it in the garbage, I had to put it on the floor to be swept. I don't know what's up with that. We all do it though. Anyway, so there we go. So that was her first year. Now, of course, we were concerned that he would end up being a bottle baby, that she would not take care of him. We were also concerned that meant that she was not going to be a wonderful mom and we would need to take her out of our breeding program. Lots of big concerns, right? Because she's a goat we brought in from another breeder very specifically for her personality, her stature, right? So there were some things that we brought her in for. Well, once she got over the shock, I think things, instincts started to kick in. So it was almost a rodeo, right? Farm hubby had to hold her still while I'm laying on the floor with the baby, trying to get the baby to latch on to one of her teats. She had plenty of milk. There was no problem there. She just didn't want anything to do with this alien that had come out of her rear end and caused her pain. Do you see the steam rising from her? I'm not using hot water by any means, but it is warm water, and it is cold out. I should not be out here in what I'm wearing, but I try and experience the environment the way they do. So if they're going to be sopping wet, so am I. And if they're going to be cold, so am I. So anyway, once we got that baby latched on, and it took quite a few tries, and it was not, you know, it wasn't a 5-minute process, right? It was several hours of try again. We got him latched on, and it was like a switch flipped. It was incredible. She became the most devoted, protective mother that we have on the farm, right? She did not let that baby out of her sight. Every time we had to take him away to do something, whether it was vaccinate or just take his weights, she was fit to be tied. It was just, there was no way, Jose, that this was, you know, that she was going to let that baby go. She loved him. And they were inseparable, and she loved all the babies at that point. She was, you know, still young, right? She was only 2 years old. And so she would play with the babies. She was running and bouncing with them, but she was never far from her baby. Funny enough, as soon as her baby went home, she got over that real quick. She was like, all right, well, he's gone. Thanks. So no love lost there. She was ready for him to go, apparently. So this year, you know, we weren't as concerned about her, of course. It was going to be her second time having babies. She should know what's going on. I should brush you first. And she did, I guess, partially fulfill that expectation. So she had twins this year, a girl and a boy. And she didn't run away from them, thankfully, this time. But she certainly wasn't all that interested in the whole let's clean up your baby process. It's kind of funny. It's almost part of her personality. It sort of fits that she's like, ew. So, you know, again, we're there. Emma, our maternal goat, is there. So the babies got cleaned up. Wren didn't help much with that. She kind of stood to the side and watched. And again, I have to laugh because it is kind of her personality. Is just, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. That's gross. And she really did. She kind of had that look on her face like, ew, they're wet, they're slimy, and no, I'm not touching them. Now, as soon as we got the drier, you know, they're certainly not dry. But as soon as we got them drier and they weren't quite as goopy, probably the best word for a newborn baby goat, they are a little bit goopy. I think we're done with shampoo. Oh no, I need it for your head, but that's okay. I can get it from there. She was there, interested. I think she knew they were hers, but still wasn't necessarily being the most maternal in the world. Wasn't necessarily like running away, but she also, you know, was kind of half-heartedly maybe licking their head, maybe nudging them a little bit, but you know, those babies were sort of on their own to figure things out. So thankfully, it was pretty easy to get them both to latch. It didn't take all that much time. They both latched onto a teat, and once again, like magic, boom, she has turned into Supermom, and there is absolutely no stopping her. Yeah, that's impressive. Good girl. Okay, guys, we're gonna do a little rodeo here for a second. So Wren, I've talked about this at the last video, actually. I don't lock them in super tight. It's why I keep the side rails up. They don't have to necessarily be choking to stay tight. And if they want to get out of the head halter, they're going to get out of it, obviously. So anyway, so Wren is super maternal once babies nurse. Before the babies nurse, meh, not so much. As soon as those babies nurse, oh my goodness, it's an insta bond, and she is never far from her babies. Now she will, when they're in the pasture and stuff, she's not running after them if they're running and playing, but she's sort of got her ear and her eye out. And that's why she's so vocal right now. She wants to get back with her babies. Taking her out of the stall. I had 2 babies following her right out of the stall, ready to stay with their mama. And the other babies, you know, they don't do that, right? They're like, the stall is home. I don't know where you're taking mom, but we ain't coming. Not with her and her babies. So both her doe and her buck were right there trying to come along with me. And it's just such an interesting phenomenon with her. Now, does that mean that I think that she's a terrible mom because she's not maternal until they nurse? No. Technically, if they were not domestic, right? If they were out in the wild, if that baby doesn't get itself up and start nursing, that baby doesn't survive, right? So I actually kind of appreciate that aspect of her, and I think it makes her kids a little bit more resilient, a little bit more, intelligence is probably not the right word, but they can problem solve, right? Her kids at 15 minutes old have to figure out how to stand up, find a teat, and get latched on, or they are not going to survive in her world. In my world, they're going to survive because I'm there to take care of it. But in her world, right, that's kind of how things work. And if the baby can't get up and can't run away from predators and the baby can't move with her, then the baby doesn't survive. And that would be a quite normal thing for a wild animal, right? Those babies have to get up. They have to be able to nurse. They have to be able to run very quickly. Giving birth is the most vulnerable time of a wild animal's life. And if they're a prey animal, which goats are a prey animal, that vulnerability can't last very long, right? That's why those kids are up and on their feet. They are hollering. Those babies are hollering for her. We're almost done, girlfriend. You need a rinse and a brush. You can handle that. So yes, she wants to be back with her babies. Toot sweet, as in like right now. That's right, I know. Now your babies are almost, let's see, they were born March 8th, if I recall, maybe March 7th, don't quote me. It's one of those two, 7th or 8th. And so we're April 26th. So they're like 6 weeks old. So those babies are starting to wean. They're not weaned by any means. They're not fully weaned till they're about 10 weeks old. But they're starting to wean. You've seen that they're eating hay. There's absolutely no reason why she should be so upset that she's not with her babies, but she is. And so we're going to get her back to her babies as soon as we can. Thankfully, like I said, she's a fairly easy goat to groom. There's not much to her in terms of coat or knots or anything. Actually, that brush after the rinse is really more to get some of the water out. Oh my goodness. And you know who's the loudest in there crying is her boy, of course, Voodoo, who is the buck the kid I think I'm going to keep as a buck. That is the intent right now, as of this recording. Things may have changed by the time you see the recording, but as of this recording, that is the intent. And so can you imagine when I'm going to have to separate him and put him in the buck stall? He'll be fine, but those first couple of days are going to be absolute misery with her calling for him calling for her, and that noise happening all day. Well, I'm not looking forward to that. Maybe I should rethink this. What do you think? Should I rethink it? Oh my gosh. Oh, now you're pooping again. Awesome. Oh, that's quite the poop. Are you done? Because the faster we're done, the faster you get back to your babies. So, just for the record, she's not in distress. She may think she is. She's emotionally. This is traumatic. She's going to need some therapy. And I'm not making, it's terrible that I have to say this, but I'm not making light of needing therapy or having trauma. I'm literally using that term in reference to this dramatic goat who is acting as if the world is about to end because she's been separated from her babies for like 15 minutes. Please, please, please don't think I'm not sensitive to anybody that needs therapy, wants therapy, anybody that has been through a trauma, needs to recover from a trauma. I am very sensitive to that in humans. This is not about the humans. I'm talking about the goat. The goat that I have raised from a baby that I know has not experienced any trauma and that is just a drama queen. Okay? I kind of hate that I have to say that, but at the same time, I feel it's important to remind you every once in a while of that, because I do tend to speak very freely, often without filter, and sometimes as it's falling out of my mouth, I realize that it could be construed very poorly, and I don't want that, right? This is a positive community. This is supposed to be about joy and animals and cute babies and not anything else. So we're going to get her off the stand so she can stop complaining, but I'm just going to do her head, which, as you may be able to tell, is covered in some sort of leaf debris. And once we get her head done, she's done, and we can get her back to her little nuggets that she wants to be back to. Let's just rearrange a little bit to make it easier on me. I'm going to do it from this side so you can see a little bit of what's happening. I know, yes. Brush first. Brush, brush, brusha, brusha, brusha. It's like brushing teeth. Okay, get that out of the line of fire. Every time I turn on the water, I have to wait for the temperature to become right. Because it's an on-demand system, it does sometimes either, one, have a little bit of cold water first, or two, it has a little blip of really hot water as it fires itself up. So I always make sure that what's going on the goat is a comfortable temperature. Even though it looks steamy right now. Sorry, I'm reaching in front of the camera. That's always a fabulous angle, I'm sure of myself. Here's the back of my head. Fabulous. Way to go. Yes, I know. We're just scrubby. Oh, I know. It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh, she's so angry. She's such an angry goat. You're such an angry goat. Look at those ears pinned back. That's angry ears for you. We're going to rinse, we'll do a little condition, and you'll be done. Yeah, here we go. There we go. Well, don't swallow the water and you wouldn't cough so much, goof. You make this so hard on yourself, don't you? You do. Okay, so I thought I was being clever and not going to walk across the camera angle about 17 times. Let's hope it's high enough set that you're not seeing my rear end. But, sometimes I am a rear end, or a horse's patoot. So, hey, there you go. The nice thing about getting them wet, even though they hate it, is that I get to see straight down to their skin. I get a chance to check for any creepy crawlies, which thankfully none of them have. I get a chance to make sure there's no boo-boos or scabs or anything that I need to be thinking about. This is just conditioner, girlfriend. You'll be fine. We're just going to get it rinsed off. I know. I know. Okay, that's it. Yeah, you have made this loud and uncomfortable for everybody. All right, guys. That is my third and final bath for the day. So I am going to get her back in her stall with her babies. I am going to clean up my wash stall, put everything away, and we will do it all again in 4 days. Look, she still has vegetation in her hair. There we go. We'll at least get that out, shall we? Look, she is so mad. I got to get her going. All right, guys, until next time, thanks for being here. But there's work to be done. Bye for now.